Director Flinn, a lot of people in western Iowa are critical of the Army Corps of Engineers' management of the Gavins Point Dam in South Dakota. What's your feeling about that?
Again, I would just say on this one, 2011, I think they admit there were some failures there because they didn't manage the system properly. But this year, as I mentioned, with the unrestrained flows and everything, they only went to 100,000 cubic foot per second for one 6-hour time frame. Otherwise, they were very much trying to control and regulate. But when you have all those other inflows from inland rivers and there's no way to stop that flow, it was the perfect storm.
The New York Times today has a front page story about the Gavins Point Dam, and it ought to be required reading for anybody in Iowa. But in that story, John Bemis, the man who handles the management of the Gavins Point Dam, said exactly that it was a perfect storm. In addition to everything you've mentioned, there was a dam that broke in Spencer, Nebraska, I believe, and he said he was actually worried about losing the Gavins Point Dam. How do we get better warnings like that so that the manager of the gates is not faced with a decision like that?
Yeah, and that's a really tough question, and we were hearing things of some of their gates were frozen because of the extreme winter we'd had, so that made it doubly hard for them to control things. But it's a good question on how do we fix some of those things. It's a very costly infrastructure too.
Mr. Glisan, what do you say to that? How do we get better information to the people that control the floodgates so that they can, as Kay mentioned, give better warnings, but also not be in a situation like this, which was a perfect storm?
And if you look at the perfect storm, the cyclone, we had not seen a low pressure system of that strength in the 60 years. So the rapidity at which the dominoes started falling, the forecast models can't pick that up fast enough. And getting that information to stakeholders, in my position, I give observations to state stakeholders, and they produce the policies. But again, there was the rapidity of events that it can impede these kind of things.
What would western Iowa look like if we were to lose the Gavins Point Dam?
I wouldn't even venture a guess. I'm not a hydrologist, but it would be catastrophic.